Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome, everybody, to day 12. 28 days of having a wealth mindset. We are still going strong. So I want to just give a shout out and a thank you to everyone who has tapped into the videos, who shared the videos, who's commented on the videos. And I'm just happy that y'all are enjoying this series. And so today I told y'all that this topic right here was going to actually blow your mind. And so I'm going to be sharing some things with you all. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, under 30 minutes. And I'm also going to be sharing a little bit of my story with you all. But y'all, today's topic is actually titled Poverty Disguised as Humility. And like I said, this is actually, I feel like this is going to be one of my favorite topics because I feel like this is definitely a mindset block that we got to come against. Okay. And so we are going to be coming against that on today. And so come on in the room. Make sure you share this video, you all. For those that's joining, if you have been watching the videos, I want you to comment below and let me know where you're tuning in from. Also, I shared several resources. I will share them again really quick that I'll be using in this challenge. Actually, they're right here. Okay. So the first resource I wanted to share real quick is my When You Fast book, you all. Make sure that you go check this out. You can grab this on Amazon. This is a 21-day devotional for prayer and fasting. And so this is a really good tool. Next, I also shared this book right here. I actually am retired. I actually retired at 39 years old. 39 years old, you all. This November will actually be 3 years. November 30th of 2026 will be 3 years since I have not had a job. God is so good. And this book right here has really been helping me out. And so make sure you grab this book. It's called the F.I.RE Financial Independence Retire Early Planner, you all. So this is a really good book about planning for your retirement and building wealth as well. Next, this is also for my believers in business. It's called Prophetic Writing. It's teaching you how to manifest and just giving you encouragement as a business owner. Okay, so if you are a business owner and you are a believer, this is a good tool as well. And I'll post all the links to these books in the comments. Okay. So, all right, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get started. Of course, you know that the foundation of this challenge is Matthew 25, but I'm also going to be sharing several scriptures throughout. Okay. And make sure you go to our website. Also, you can subscribe there to our email list, www.pushandpour.biz. And then also, you can also join, if you want to be a part of our community, you can join by texting the word join to 681-239-0712. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So I want to kind of talk about, I've shared my story before, but just for those that is coming on, I kind of want to share my story really, really quick. And so, you know, a lot of times you always hear people talking about being humble, right? And so a lot of times, y'all, you can downplay your success by being humble. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that, right? So when I was in West Virginia, you all, and this is in 2022, right? So 2021, I actually moved my family to West Virginia, right? I did a 3-year AGR tour in the reserves. So I moved my family to West Virginia in 2021, February 2021. Okay. So, of course, I knew that wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do, but that was something that I had to do. Okay, it was a sacrifice that I made to be able to get to where I am now. And so in 2021, we had moved into a home and all that. But of course, I talk about how one of my desires was to buy a home, right? That was one of my desires. That was really the whole point in me getting and applying for that AGR position in West Virginia. So with that being said, in 2022, you all, we closed on our home. So we closed on our home August 31st of 2022, I believe. And so with that being said, you all, I I ended up having to go back to West Virginia. I was trying to make it to where they would let me work from home, but they didn't. Then my husband ended up passing away the year after that, but that's another story for another day. But y'all, I basically stayed on a military barracks. I slept on a mattress on the floor in my office. Now, I didn't necessarily have to sleep in the office on the floor, but as you all know, in the military, you have what you call an open bay, right? Where you don't really get any privacy. You know, there's no lock. There was no lock on the door, so people could just really just come in there and go as you please. You know, I would hear footsteps at night. So to make myself feel comfortable, because I had to stay there, I actually ended up just putting one of the mattresses in my office, and I just slept on that mattress in my office. I was able to lock the door at night, and I just slept in there, right? So, I would honestly say, y'all, that experience really humbled me. When I say that experience right there humbled me, y'all, it did, because I couldn't afford, you know, I had bought a house in South Carolina. I couldn't afford two or three, I couldn't afford to buy a whole nother apartment. And so I actually ended up staying there, y'all, but it wasn't easy. I got ridiculed a lot. I was judged. I even, it had gotten to the point to where everybody knew I was there. Like everybody knew my business. And like I said, people were drilling there and we were drilling there. So I didn't really have a lot of privacy, but I did it and I got through it. And I wanted to start off sharing that story is because if I ever hear someone say, be humble, to me, there's a difference between being humble and having false humility. And I'm going to go into that point in a minute. But can you imagine going through where you work where you slept at, people know you lived there. Y'all, there was times where I was afraid to even go outside and go out the door and go to the bathroom because I knew people was there. That was a humbleness and humility. So now it's like, when I hear somebody say be humble, I'm like, that was the most humblest of humblenesses that I have experienced in my life. Right? So yeah, like I want to start that off by saying there's nothing wrong with sharing what God has done for you. Right? And I've shared that story multiple times. And those of you that's watching this, this may be your first time hearing that story, but I've shared that story multiple times. So now I've even had people in my past say that, well, make sure you're humble. And it's like, oh, I've been humble. I've been humbled. Okay. So I wanted to share that. And I want to also share this, the enemy doesn't always attack us with obvious temptation. Sometimes he disguises it as bondage. Okay, and so let's go ahead and get into my first point. So I have 5 points. I'm going to try to get through all of them really, really quick. So the first point is humility versus false humility and knowing the difference. Okay. So what is biblical humility? Biblical humility is recognizing God as a source and being a good steward of what he gives. Okay, so y'all know I always say that it was God that allowed me to be in the position I am today. It was God that allowed me to get that AGR job. You'll learn, if you get my prophetic writing book, you'll learn about that in there, how I give God the glory for everything in my life. He gets all the credit. And so even from that position going into that, right? I prayed for that job. I got that job. Even me being there and me telling God, and me praying, saying, God, I know I'm here. I don't want to be here for long. God, I desire to be an entrepreneur. God, I desire to be a full-time business owner. God, I want this to be my last job. These were things that I prayed and prophesied over myself and spoke over myself and prayed and fasted for, y'all. And so that is biblical humility. Right? Biblical humility is recognizing God as a source. And so when people ask me, how are you able to do what you're doing now? How are you able to be home? Listen, I'm always going to bring God up, right? Because he is the reason why I'm in this position. And so that is biblical humility. All right. False humility is rejecting opportunities, resources, and blessings because you don't want to seem too proud. Okay, look at Matthew 25:14-30. We talked about that on day 1, right? The servant who buried his talent wasn't humble, he was afraid. So this isn't going to be another toe stepper, because a lot of you all have rejected opportunities. You've rejected resources and blessings because you don't want to seem too proud. You feel like I don't want this to look like I'm putting on a performance. I don't want this to look like I'm too proud, right? That is actually false humility, and that is actually demonic. Okay, because you're using an excuse. And a lot of times what I see is a lot of people will use that as an excuse, but then they'll later on in life complain about money. They'll complain about not having any resources. They'll complain about not having any opportunity. Right? And so we have to really be careful about biblical humility, being a good steward over what God gives you, versus false humility. All right. And so just to be transparent, right? Y'all, I knew that I wanted more. How many of you on here want more? I knew that I didn't just want my life to stop at the military. Y'all, it's so funny because I had so many people try to talk me out of getting out the military. You would be surprised. I even had one family member send me this long message. And I said, you know what? I'm grateful for the military. I say it all the time. I'm thankful for the military. But my life is so much greater than that. Right? I even had somebody recently try to take credit for me joining the military. And I was like, what? Once again, biblical humility. God gets all the glory. There's nobody in my life that's going to be able to take credit for anything that I've done. And if they do, that's demonic, and that's a spirit. Right? Because if anything, people should understand that they're used as a vessel, but you don't get to take God's glory. So, but yeah, I really believe that I wanted more than retirement. I knew that the military was just going to be a stepping stone for me. I knew that that just wasn't going to be it. Right? And so when people try to put a box, how many of you have experienced when people try to put you in a box? When people try to put me in a box and say, oh my God, you're going to get out of the military. You ain't going to make that much money. You're not going to be successful. You should just stay in. You're putting me inside of a box, because my God is greater. My God is bigger. So guess what? If I am desiring more, why would I not believe God for more? You understand what I'm saying? And I want to go back. I want to go also into me understanding and you all understanding what it looks like to be obedient. Me doing what I'm doing now was me being obedient to God. Me staying in the military would have been me being disobedient. Because when it's time to go, when God says it's time to go, it's time to go. Come on, somebody. When God says it's time to go, it's time to go. And so that can be another way that you have a poverty mindset, is because you're staying somewhere and you're staying in a place that God has already told you to leave. And that's having a poverty mindset, because you don't trust God for your resources, right? So that was point 1, humility versus false humility. Next, this is, listen, this goes step on some toes, but listen, if the shoe fits, like my girl Coach Whitney said, put it on, okay? Next is, I'm just blessed, when gratitude becomes a cop-out. I've seen this a lot of times too. And you know, shout out to my my mentor and one of my coaches, Shelly Pugh. And I remember when I was working with her for my Push and Pour conference, right? And she actually helped me curate the conference and just a lot of my website and a lot of different things for the conference. And I remember I got the revelation that I can think too big sometimes. And I'm not talking about for me. I'm just saying for a lot of the people around me the revelation I got. And so I remember, like, we were working on my email. We were working on my email list, and we were working on my email sequences. And I remember I kept putting in there, like, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to be a millionaire, be a millionaire. And Shelly said, she said, Crystal, everybody don't want to be a millionaire. And I was like, And when I tell you that thing stuck with me, because it made me have a different mindset. And I was like, man, she's right. That's just like I always talk about finding your tribe. I was like, wow, she's right. I never thought about it like that. I was like, wow, here I am saying be a millionaire. And she's like, some people are like, well, wait a minute. I don't want to do all that, Crystal. I just want to just help out and just support. And I just want a little bit of something. I don't want to be a millionaire. Right? So that was something that I had to learn, you all. That was something I had to learn. And so that can actually be a cop-out, because don't avoid and acknowledge your hard work and your strategic decisions. Like I tell y'all all the time, I work really hard to get to where I'm at, right? Like I talk about when sleeping on a mattress, me making that sacrifice, right, to serve, making that sacrifice to go back full-time military, because I was part-time, like I always say. I wasn't full-time military, but just making that sacrifice to be able to be where I'm at now, right? I'm going to always talk about that because that's going to bless someone else. And when you limit acknowledging your hard work, right, you're having that mindset can convince you that you're negating God's favor, right? And so that's something that you have to think about as well. Like, you can be blessed and excellent and strategic. Okay, you could be all three of those things. You can be blessed, you could be strategic, you could be wealthy, all of those things, right? Don't limit your thinking and limit yourself. Okay? Don't limit what God has done for you. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't move in silence, because I'm all about moving in silence. Listen, always be obedient to God. I'm not telling you to disobey God. If God is leading you not to share certain things, don't. But if he is and you're not sharing those things, you don't know who can hear your story that's your story, your testimony could really transform someone's life, right? Just to give you an example, right? My story. Y'all saw me off, just to God be the glory, the things that I was able to accomplish outside of the military. Me doing a virtual workout program, me publishing 8 books, right? 2 to include my own, providing establishing published authors, right? Having the Push and Pour conference and it being successful, right? These are all things that I was able to accomplish, right? Systems, being able to connect and being able to learn about mortgage loan investing and real estate, right? These are all things that God opened the doors for me, and I walk right through them. And I want y'all to walk right through those doors as well. Like, don't limit yourself. Don't limit the opportunities that God is putting in front of your face. Okay? And so that was point 2. All right. Point 3. Stop shrinking yourself to serve others. Stop shrinking yourself. A lot of time, if you have a circle and if you are around people that shrinking themselves, you need to find a new circle. I keep telling y'all that. You should never downplay your success. You should never feel like you got to downplay your success no matter who you're around. You should never feel like you got to downplay your success at all. Ever. Ever. Don't play it small, right? You should be around people who push you to want to go hard, right? Don't downplay your success. Because let me also say this, and this is not to step on something nobody's told. This is real. I want people around me that's always kind of climb higher and higher and higher. I could have just sat here and been okay with just my income, my retirement income. A lot of people do that. A lot of people get their retirement income and they're like, oh, I'm good. But I want more though. I desire more. I desire more. I desire to make more money. Who don't want to try to make more money? Come on now. The economy's rising, prices is rising. So why we not trying to, why we not continuing to elevate? But you got some people out there, I know a lot of them, that they're like, oh, I don't want all that. I'm just okay with my check every month. No, I want more. I want more, because guess what? That check, that's going to be the bill check. That's the auto pay check. And my business is about to fund my lifestyle. Right? Always strive and climb for more. So, and then that's another thing too. If I would have stayed small to seem humble, y'all, what would I be teaching my children? I'm trying to build generational wealth for them. I'm just being transparent. So I gotta strive for more. I gotta climb for higher heights. If I want to truly build wealth and a legacy for them, I have to continue to strive for more. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So stop downplaying your success. Stop downplaying your achievements. And this is not humility. This is people pleasing disguised as virtue. Ask yourself this question. Who's watching you that needs you to step fully into your calling? Don't rob them of that. Don't rob them of that, y'all. People are watching. I know you think that nobody's commenting. I know you think that you're seeing all these views and you think nobody's seeing your stuff. They are watching you and you are inspiring them. Don't rob them of that. Right? So ask yourself that. All right. Point 3. Okay. Point 4. I actually had a challenge. I forgot that I was supposed to be reading for each of these. I'll go back and go over that. Okay. All right. Point 4. The cost of staying in your lane. Now, I do believe in staying in your lane when it comes to what you do as far as business. Like, I'll just give you an example, right? Because I feel like it's a difference, and I'm going to break it down. So staying in your lane, not saying being content with enough, like how I just said. Having an abundant mindset, right? God wanting to bless you even more and more. So I don't mean staying in your lane as far as staying in your comfort zone. I mean, my lane right now is events, right? My lane right now is me sharing my fitness journey, because that's what I always have loved to do, right? Mortgage note investing. Because I also understand too that if I really truly want to be wealthy, I can't be all over the place. I want to focus on one thing, right? Not to say that I'm limited to doing that one thing, if that makes sense. So all of these things, like I just said before, book publishing, serving in the military, mortgage note investing, and so many other things that I'm about to tap into is what's going to allow me to build wealth. Okay, so understand that it's not being greedy, it's growth, right? I'll say that. It's not greed, it's growth. My children will not have to fight the same struggles I had to fight, right? I am teaching my daughter now, y'all, and I already said, y'all, my daughter's going to have her own mortgage note by the time she turns 16. By the time my daughter turns 16, she will have her first note. I'm going to make sure of that. And that excites me because I'm like, at 16 years old, I ain't know nothing about real estate or none of that. So with me passing that down to her and me showing her, imagine this, right? And listen, I don't have, like I said, I thank God for the military. I ain't knocking the military, but I said my kids don't have to join the military. I know a lot of people push their kids in the military, but just my mindset, why are they going in the military when their college is already going to be free? Because when the way I was raised is you went in the military because you wanted to get a good job and you wanted to get your school paid for. But if they already got that, what's the purpose of them going? I already sacrificed for them to have that. Does that make sense? This is just my mindset. Like I said, I'm not knocking anybody else pushing their kids in, but just my mindset is I am providing my children with opportunities. When I was growing up, there wasn't really no opportunities except for you go to college or you get a federal job. That was it. It wasn't no investing. We didn't know about investing. We didn't learn about entrepreneurship. But for mine, I'm teaching mine about all these things so that they can have an open door. And if my daughter has a mortgage note that's going to bring her in however much it is, $700-800 a month for 5 years, imagine how that's going to shift her mindset at 16. That I'm actually introducing her to something that she doesn't even have to work for, that she's just going to do the educate herself, and I'm going to help her educate herself. She's going to learn about it, set it up, invest, and literally this is a way for her to make money. Do you know how that's going to shift her mindset? Because I'm teaching mine that you don't always have to do hard labor to learn. You know, we got to get out of that. Oh yeah, and mine gonna get it out the mud. No, mine ain't gonna have to get it out the mud. They're not gonna have to get it out the mud. I had to get it out the mud. Why would I make them repeat that same cycle? Why? No, I'm gonna show them about opportunities. I'm gonna teach them things so that they can see, wow, well, this is a way. Can you imagine if your parents taught you about real estate? Can you imagine if when we were 12 or 13, our parents showed us something that could make us money and we were like, how that's going to shift our mindset? And I told my daughter, I spoke it over, I said, Catherine, you learn about this and open up your mindset, you're going to be making more money at 18 or 19 than some grown people in their 60s. And that's the truth. The people are doing it now. The youth is out here doing it now. I love that for them. There's a young lady, I actually share her post in my story. Shout out to her. Her name is Jazz, I think, on Instagram, y'all. But this young lady, she actually got she's about to get out the military, and she received so much backlash and criticism, y'all. But this girl is making $10,000 to $15,000 a month as a wig influencer. Come on, somebody. We got to shift our mindset. And a lot of people out here mad, but it's like we have to understand times have changed, and if we don't change with them, we're gonna be behind. In the military, she was only making $3,000 a month. And I'm just going to be transparent. The money ain't the same anymore. It's not like how it used to be. Especially, you got a lot, and financial literacy isn't taught in the military. That's another conversation for another day. But financial literacy isn't really taught in the military. You got a lot of people, I've seen it a lot in the military, that these young soldiers that's not really getting paid that much. If you E2 or E3, you might be making like $2,000 something a month. Like the young lady said, she was what E3, E4. I don't really remember, but making $3,000 a month. And imagine if you got a car. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it's nothing wrong with expanding your mindset and expanding your children's mindset as well. So ask yourself this. This is a challenge for point 4, and I'm gonna type these in the comments too. What lane are you staying in that's actually too small for where God wants to take you? It's a good question. All right, and this is my last point. This is the one that I see a lot of people struggle with, and I'm just gonna be transparent. I struggle with this a lot too, still, even now. Charging your worth isn't not ungodly. Charging your worth isn't ungodly. God gave you the skills. God gave you the talent. And shout out to Beverly Walthour. I love her. She actually teaches this a lot about how, as a Christian entrepreneur, it's okay for you to charge what you're worth. It's okay. People will try to make you feel bad. No, it's okay for you to charge what you're worth. Scripture, the laborer is worthy of his wages. 1 Timothy 5:8. Don't be afraid to charge premium prices and premium service. And y'all, just to be transparent, wealthy people pay for services. I've gotten to the point where, look, wealthy people pay for services. They pay for laundry services. They use Instacart. They use DoorDash. They use homekeeping services so that they can spend their time making more money. We got to get out of that mindset too. Oh, I'll just do it myself, but you ain't got to spend no money on that. Well, yeah, I'm gonna spend money on it so I can, number one, so I don't hurt myself, because who about to be doing labor and they got back problems? Not me. Not I. You understand what I'm saying? So that's another mindset. We have to understand premium pricing allows premium service. And people will pay for that. And this is another thing too, a topic in the wealthy community, and also it's sad. It's also sad too. And I believe, I don't want to get too much into this because I think this is in another one of my topics, but it's like, you know what else is having a poverty mindset? Is getting frustrated with how somebody else spends or spent their money. I don't understand that. Why she spent her money on that? Because it was her money and that's what she wanted to spend it on. Like, what would you do? That's the thing. You could tell a lot of y'all never came into large amounts of money or dealt with large amounts of money or are used to dealing with large amounts of money. I told y'all my story too about how when I worked at a car dealership in 2020 and I was handled large amounts of money, y'all. And I believe my boss at the time, I feel like she would, I don't know, but it was funny because I felt like she would like test me sometime to see if I was going to take the money. Like she would give me money and then I would be like, you gave me an extra 20, or I would come back and be like, you gave me an extra 10. And she'd be like, oh, okay. But that was a test though. But y'all, I was in charge of handling large amounts of money. I'm talking about I had to do drops to the bank. I'm talking about 10, 30, 40, $50,000 in cash, checks, wealthy people, y'all. That's why I'm like, I've seen this. God opened my eyes up to this 5 or 6 years ago. I've seen checks, somebody writing a $65,000 check for a Range Rover, dropping an $85,000 check on a car. And I ain't get mad. I said, God, I'm gonna be able to do that one day. Dropping $15,000, $20,000 cash at the bank. And you know what I would do? I would take that money and I would speak over myself and I would say, God, I'm going to be able to do this one day. I'm going to be able to take this money and sow this into somebody one day. But that opened up my mindset. So yeah, I'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, get out of the habit of that. Because we'll see somebody buy something and we'll say, why she spend her money on that? Or why she spend her money with that person? Because that's what she wanted to spend her money on. Or he. So we got to get out of that mindset too, because that's a poverty mindset as well. So ask yourself this question. As a business owner, do you need to audit your pricing this week? Are you undercharging for your value? Are you uncomfortable? And I'm just going to be transparent. I still struggle with this. But we got to get out of that, right? So ask yourself that. All right. So, y'all, I think that was it. I believe that was it. I'm gonna go over the points again real quick, and I'm going to go over the challenges because there were some challenge points that I wanted to drop. And I actually may go ahead and I actually was recording this. I'm going to go ahead and drop this video tonight for day 12 so that you guys can see it. But final word, your wealth is not just for you all. It's for your legacy, it's for your community, and it's for the kingdom. Stop apologizing for what God is building through you. Okay, so let's go over these points again really, really quick. Okay, and I'm going to try to post this in the comments. So point 1. Humility versus false humility and knowing the difference. Okay, we talked about biblical humility versus false humility. All right, scripture base for that was Matthew 25 verses 14 through 13. Okay, the challenge for that, y'all, was, and I want you to participate in these challenges. I want you to write these down and ask yourself this. So the challenge for point 1 is ask yourself, what opportunity are you calling not for me that might actually be your next assignment? Okay? Ask yourself that. Are you pushing something away because you're afraid and fearful of being wealthy? Because a lot of y'all are actually afraid to be wealthy. I see that a lot too. So ask yourself that, okay? Point 2, I'm just blessed when gratitude becomes a cop-out. And I talked about my accomplishments, and I talked about God getting the glory out of my accomplishments and not me not being ashamed of those accomplishments because I know what I went through to get them, okay? And so the challenge for that is I want you to practice saying this week. I worked hard and God blessed it instead of just I'm blessed. No, I work hard. I say that all the time. I work hard to get to where I'm at. Yeah, and I tell people that all the time. I work hard to get to where I'm at. This wasn't just luck. This was hard work and sacrifice. And I'm continuing to go to the next level. Yeah, it wasn't easy for me to be able to retire. It wasn't easy for me to be able to not having worked a job after y'all been working since I was 15 years old. Yeah, so when people, I worked for this. So that's why I said it'd be funny to me when people be asking me, do I want to get a job or I'm just like, no, I worked for this. I worked to be in the position I am. So ask yourself that. Challenge yourself this week by saying, I worked hard for this and God blessed it. I deserve what I have because I worked for it. Challenge yourself to say that this week. Okay, point 3. Not shrinking yourself to serve others. Don't, looking at and evaluating your circle. Who's watching this or who's watching you that need you to step fully into your calling. Don't rob them of that. There are some people that's been following your journey, to my business owners and to my entrepreneurs and even to those in your career path. There's somebody that you've been showing up online. And listen, there's somebody that's watching you that needs to hear your story. Don't rob them of that. Just because they comment don't mean that they're not seeing. Because believe me, there's a lot of people that be like, girl, I saw your video. And I'll be like, well, girl, why you ain't comment? But it's all right, though. But thank you for watching. Point 4, the cost of staying in your lane. And I broke that down, not as far as staying in your lane about having your hand in too many different things, but just having a poverty mindset and saying, oh, this is enough and that's it, right? So we talked about that. We talked about having an abundant mindset, and the challenge for that is, what lane are you staying in that's actually too small for God wants you to go? So are you putting yourself in a box? Ask yourself that question. Are you putting yourself in a box? Are other people putting you in a box? Right? Are you allowing other people to put you in a box? Because listen, I feel like people try to put me in a box all the time, and I break out of it every single time. Do not put me in a box. You don't know what I got going on. You don't know what I'm about to happen to. You don't know what. Listen, I'm just full of surprises. I'm gonna just say that. So that's challenge for point 4. And then point 5 was charging your worth isn't ungodly. So this is really, I want you to spend some time in prayer. Spend some time in prayer and spend some time asking God, what you should be charging? Do you need to raise your prices? Because a lot of us do need to raise our prices, because you don't want to be burnt out. And your business is supposed to fund your lifestyle. Like I told y'all, I could have just been being okay with my little retirement check every month, but no, I want more than that. Yeah. That was a income filler. Come on, somebody. That's an income filler, baby. That ain't the end all be all. Yeah, I'm going to always strive for more. And I want those around me, and I'm going to push those around me to strive for more as well. Okay? And so the challenge for that was, check and see if you need to audit your pricing this week. Are you undercharging because you're uncomfortable owning your value? So ask yourself that. But wow, y'all, this was good. I pray that you enjoyed this. Like I said, this is day 12. I'm gonna actually go ahead and post this. I'm actually recording this on the 11th. I'm trying to make sure that I stay ahead of the game, and so I'm gonna go ahead and post this tonight. Like I said, let me know where you're watching in from. I'm also gonna post this on YouTube, and I think that was it, y'all. But let's keep pushing forward. I pray that this blessed y'all, and I will see y'all in the next video.